My name is Raymond. I'm working in a company that's bringing companies from Korea to Singapore and Southeast Asia, and likewise into Korea. So interestingly, it's all about original stories about people. So I think networking, as we know, is always very fast paced. Give me a name card. I want to know whether you're a decision maker or CEO, or are you interesting enough. A lot of times we fail to understand the people behind the title or the stories behind the title, right? So I think Storigin really came from gathering people to gather, not talking about work first, knowing about original stories that are interesting about yourself, right? Before we get to know the job title or whether you want to pursue the relationship in that sense. Yeah. It started with a co-founder of mine, Ying. She was back from China, and I think she was looking to connect with the Singapore and local network, and that's why she came to me to say that, hey, let's have a dinner, get together, and that was pre-COVID, right? So I think she will reach out to some of her friends, I'll reach out to some of my contacts and friends, then we will gather. And interestingly, because her name is my daughter's name, that's why I thought it was even cooler to see how to connect with her to help grow this network together lah. That's how we came about. Yeah, I think challenges are always there, right? That's why it's interesting to overcome it. And I think the challenges were initially people were saying that why are you doing this, right? Why do you need to have another one? Just join another one, right? There's so many of them out there. Or sometimes when we were thinking whether should we have a paid event or not a paid event, and even we're just buying a meal for your own self, and people think that there's a lot of challenges, right? I think the challenge that we also keep thinking about is making it fresh and interesting, right? So our topics also don't really vary around one sector per se. We actually go around in, let's say, from students to experienced professionals to retirees, right? How do we cut across everyone and then still engage them? So we realize it's all about your stories, right? People can relate to stories during a certain time frame of your life. Yeah, I think it's really a lot of God's grace and God's plans for us, and the journey that I think uncover new people that you'll meet and listening to original stories. What motivated me was also, I think, to a certain extent, I think Storigin is also outreach for people who may not have known about Christ. Right? Storigin is really to provide a voice or a platform for people to connect first, like-minded people to connect. Then that's where we can probably reach out if they are curious about things that we're doing, or maybe we can point to people that we already know very well or are comfortable with. I think there was one instance where we were at a co-working space, a sudden gathering as well, because there was interestingly a Swedish friend who came. Then we wanted to gather a few contacts together to meet him for dinner together, right? So we call it impromptu story in a sense. In the end, that question sparked a lot of people's emotional sharing about their life during, because we play some icebreaker games, right? So everyone will share about certain things that happened during their part of their life. Suddenly, everybody opened up and shared intimate things that they probably locked up in their memory. Then everybody all kind of connected at one point, right? Example, it will be either relationship issues or bullying, or things like we have forgotten about the past, why don't we move on? So these are topics that I think are rarely spoken about. So that moment is just like that. Everybody just shared and contributed. Yeah. Came to know about 360 was I think during my days with National Research Foundation, which my office wasn't too far, and I needed a place to so-called pray and connect with God. I heard about 360 needing some mentors and I think volunteers. So I don't dare to be a mentor. I just came to be more like a kepo, right? So I think that's how I came to know about 360. I think it's really the initial phases where I saw God's hands in everything that is being built here, right? From nothing there, really, literally nothing. I think Lina, when we first met with SC and PC and Jermaine and everyone, I felt that it was a close-knitted team who wanted to build something, right? I see their vision, that's why I thought I'm just happy to be be part of the journey lah, right? So I think as we get more people on board, like Elaine and more people that came aboard, I think I see that everybody wants to contribute to Christ's work. So that's why I think um, with the right people around us, it's important to focus on God's plans, right? So I think we're just journeying together to carry out God's plans. Yeah. I was part of the first event, and then we organized a few other events, and then as well as online, right? So I did the first online event as well. I think the first event that I participated, I was just happy to be the doorman, right? And I think that's where we so-called welcomed many people in, right? And that's where I met with Elaine, whom I didn't know that came because of invitation by another believer brother, right? So I think it was interesting because I used the outreach on LinkedIn and social media. And I think one led to another, and then everybody came together for a good cause, which is the missionary mission approach, right? So I think that's where it caught my attention that DM360's work is really reaching the ends of Singapore. So I'm just curious to continue this journey. And as I am part of the team, I realized that more and more are coming to step up to do more. So I think that's why it's very encouraging. So I think I realized the 360 is a place where that's done so much, right? Even though it's technically fairly young, like I think it's a 10 or 15-year-old church or something like that. But I think the work that they have done is really like quiet. I think it's not really just in Singapore, right? It's really to reach out to the global stage, where I think the refugees will need some help, and I think the brothers and sisters who may not have known Christ or can praise the Lord openly. I think these are the works that we are trying to reach out, which I was very touched, right? Me, the hesitation really went away when I spoke with Essie. Many will go through this journey, right? I think of a hesitation, but I think you definitely need someone to speak with and understand or clear any doubts. So it was a blessing because I think the time was also starting, right? And I think Essie was very busy, and I think I managed to get some airtime. And then I think when we see the vision and we know the plans, we definitely want to try to see how to help and scout. Then, as I know, for people who have not known 360 yet and are curious, I think the whole idea is we are independent believers who are also there to do Christ's work. End of the day, it's a long game. As long as we remember and focus on why God has a plan for us, as I think from Genesis on the story of Joseph is quite interesting because everybody's journey is different. But I think he was really patient, right? So I think his game is long enough, right? I think he journeyed. So I think if entrepreneurs, believer entrepreneurs, will need to remember there's a long game. So you might pivot along the way. You might meet a lot of different people. You might be disappointed, but end of the day, if you remember why you started, just persevere, I guess. Yeah.